Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be introducing everyone here who's either listening or watching to the second half, the second brains, 50% of the brains behind Audea. We have Amine, my CTO, my technical co-founder, the guy who actually built the algorithms, the front end, the back end, the thing that makes Audea possible is here today. And I'm so happy to introduce you all to him. I know you guys have seen a lot of interviews of me talking to investors and users and stuff like that. But now it's time to actually learn about the other part of Audea, what actually gets Audea to function the way it is. And it is someone who can code it, because I can't code. I could speak, but I cannot code. This is the guy who's been coding for the past 30 years and who really understands what he's doing. So thank you, Amine, for being here. Let's start off before we get into our introduction of how we met each other, which is a crazy story in and of itself. Can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your life? Because your life has been pretty crazy.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's really something, watching you, on YouTube and everything, and it's just amazing. Your journey, really, really loved everything about it. Yeah, my background is like a bit crazy. As you can tell, this is my second life here in the United States. I was born in Algeria, and have a really rough path, going through a lot of things in Algeria. That's what basically got me to be here. I grew up, in a big family. We had 8 kids who were like 8. I was number 7. And most of my siblings, basically failed in school. They had like no legitimacy, in the family. And I was like, I've grown apart from the beginning. I was like, you would see me like sitting on a couch doing some crazy ass math, like unbelievable. Like I started doing equations when I was like in second grade or something. And I go to my dad and I showed him this stuff, and he's like, holy shit, this is something else, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow, so yeah, that's how I grew up. And the funny thing is, my brother and sisters, because my older brother is older than me, and then I have one younger than me, so that's number 8. But anyways, the teachers that taught my siblings, they thought I was like them. So when I first got into the class, they're like, whatever, this is like stupid guy. But then you know what? After a week, they were terrified. Even like writing stuff on the board, they would write stuff and they would look at me, making sure that they didn't make a mistake. And so basically, that's
Since you
give me
since
a
you were a kid, you knew you were a little different and more analytical, you could say.
I was completely different and quite isolated, to be honest. I was really isolated because, I see all my siblings, they had no interest in science or physics, or I knew how a nuclear reaction worked like so long ago. Like I was a child. Anyhow, so yeah, I knew everything about dinosaurs, like anything. I would just be in. Even, my teachers, they would give me like stuff to do experiments in the backyard because they knew it made me happy. Anyhow, so yeah, that gives me a lot of credibility with my family, and that in itself, made me part of like a very small inner circle, which was like my mom, my dad, and myself, like the decision making of the entire family. So from like 7 years old or 8 years old, my parents would ask me to approve something, which is crazy, right? And I knew everything. I knew all the secrets of the family. Like, everyone that did anything, I would know about it. I would give them advice on how to deal with this and everything. It was like, so I grew apart, like really apart. But then, so the funny thing is, in Algeria, the best school belonged to the military, and that was like the best school in the entire continent. So you'd see all the ambassadors kids, all the presidents kids from all different countries. They would go to this school in Algeria. It's like, it's like Harvard or Yale. It's not at that scale, of course, but I mean, for Algeria, it was, this polytechnical military school was like the top of the top. So I was like, what, I gotta be in that school. So I went in there. They accepted me like without sweat at all. So joining that school, I basically had the military training and the scientific training at the same time, right?
Right.
So I was doing so great in school, so amazing, and I was like this fucking troublemaker, like unbelievable guy. Everybody was like, like to be around me because of the trouble that I was causing. So
So you were
anyhow,
really
so
analytically smart, but you had this also rebellious kind of personality with you.
rebellious, absolutely rebellious. So when I reached the fourth year of engineering, basically, they fired like 50% of the entire section that I was part of. They got to me, they had a problem. They're like, how can we fire this guy? But we can't because he's like top of the school.
Yeah.
So they told me, you know what, Mr. Balabas, and I said, we're gonna give you 1 year probation. If you don't fix yourself, you're out. We had a problem. They said when it came to you because you were so great. I mean, but all this trouble that you did, prison, like fights, like you name it, I was part of it, right? So, anyways, that basically got me to straighten up a little bit. I spent 1 year like a sissy. I didn't do anything. I was like my parents, they didn't see me anymore because I used to go all the time. I would escape from the wall. I would go see my parents and I come back. But that year, basically, my parents, they saw me like very little. Anyhow, so I graduated. I joined Research and Development Center. So I was doing, a lot of modification of Russian weapons. I was really good at that stuff. So that caught their attention. That's where I'm going to tell you the story, the core story of what happened. That caught the attention of the military chiefs, and they said, you know what, let's give him this project for anti-terrorism, basically,
Mm.
to help
How old
us.
were you at this time?
I was 24,
So
I
you were
think,
just out of
24,
college, and this is
20.
where you got into your
Yeah,
first kind of
24,
job.
20. Yeah. So, anyways, I did this project and I was so amazing at it. I did the whole thing. I got the highest commendation of the Joint Chief of Staff, like the second most powerful man in Algeria, congratulated me in person, right?
Mm.
And the Chief of Secret Services, everybody, like the stuff that I've done. The problem is the terrorists, they knew about it. They found out that I did this project. So I was in danger and I was constantly hiding, constantly. I couldn't go out. I was had to be in the base, or my friends they
How
had
did
to
they find out?
escort me.
How did they find out you were the guy that came up with this thing?
Yeah, unfortunately, there was like somebody that's how do you call a rat in
All
the
right.
military?
Mm.
Yeah, they rat me out basically. So, anyways, I got in such a bad situation. I was scared all the time. I got in such a deep depression. I had a nervous breakdown. I ended up in a psychiatric hospital. They put me with crazy people. That was insane, like absolutely insane. I was just basically depressed. I wasn't like crazy, but they put me with these people. Anyhow, and then the chief of psychiatry, he was a colonel. He told me, you know what? I mean, I just want you to be better. I just want you to feel better. I'm gonna get you out of the military. This is not your place, right? But that didn't help because of the stuff that I worked on. I had some information. Getting out of the military would put me in danger with the military also, with the secret
Right.
services. So, like all of a sudden, I find myself terrorists on one side after me, the military after me, right? So I called the embassy, the military embassy, United States. I called and I said, I need to speak with the Joint Chief of Staff. I need help. So immediately he got me in. I was a captain at that time. He was hoping to get some information from me, right? Because he asked me some information about nuclear stuff, nuclear base and stuff like that. I told him, listen, I am not gonna betray my country. You wanna help me? Get me out of here because they're gonna kill me. Military or terrorists, but please help me. Anyhow, so he helped me. And I bought my ticket. I ended up in Los Angeles at night, knowing nobody, having no place to go, barely speaking English. Imagine at night, at Los Angeles, in the LAX, right? At night. Anyways, I got out of the airport. I really literally kissed the ground with this much, dust and trash on the ground. I kissed it because I was safe for the first time. But anyhow, so from that point, I started my life here. I was my own lawyer with the immigration and all of that stuff. And everybody wanted a piece of me, Amit. Everybody, like the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the military intelligence, everyone wanted me for them, right? Because of the stuff that I knew and everything. And I'm like, I told them, you know what, just leave me alone. I came to start a brand new life here.
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with any government of any sort. I'm a civilian now. So anyway, they respected that. They left me alone, and I started working. I wanted to start engineering, like I wanted to do my job, and they told me like, you know what, your degree didn't convert here, although I had a master's degree. They said, you need to go to college, get some grades, and just your head, will be, how do you say, your head pops out of the crowd,
You'll be
and
more legitimate.
exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I had a 4.0 GPA. I was top of the college. And one of my teacher told me, hey, there's a company, they're looking for smart people. Do you want to join them? I said, sure. So I went.
And you got the degree
I
in what? In America?
in electrical engineering.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, electronics, electrical engineering. Anyways, I'm trying to compress the story because it's a very long story. So I got into this interview in front of this guy, director of engineering, who was Asian. Such a tough guy. He's asking me about stuff. Do you know this? I'm like, no. Do you know this? No. Do you know this? No. And he's like, what do you know? He looked at me like this. Atom, please give me a chance. I told him, just give me a chance. That's all I'm asking you. He looked at me like this, like it's like almost get out of my office, right? So I left. In the morning, I was working in Pizza Hut. I received a phone call. He called me and he said, when can you start? I'm like, holy shit, I got a chance. So anyway, so I started there. The problem is all these top engineers, I was like a junior engineer, all these top engineers, they would completely ignore me. I would go to a meeting. I'm like, hello, hello, hello. Like when you're in a dream and you try to speak and nobody hears you, that's how it was, right? All these top engineers, their nose were up in the air. They wouldn't listen to me at all. Here's what happened. Like 3 weeks in, we had a meeting and it was unanimous. All the engineers, they said that something was impossible to do. And I was like, that's it. That's my ticket right there. After the meeting, I went to my cubicle. After 15 minutes, Amit, I'm not kidding you, I did it. So I called the top engineers that was completely ignoring me. Like he was a total ass, right? I called him and told him, come on, say something. He came to my cubicle, he looked at it, his jaws dropped, right? So he pulled me from my t-shirt like this. It was kind of like condescending, but cool at the same time, right? He took me to the office of the director of engineering and he said, hey, look, tell him what you did. So I showed him. Guess what, I mean? They tripled my salary. They hired me full time. And from that point on, every time before I even move my lips, they would just be quiet completely. The full respect, right?
And this is because you built some project by yourself.
I built something that they said it was impossible to do, right? Yeah, it was like it was like a ticket. God gives you, these opportunities. You just have to kind of capture it like at the right moment, right? It's like a GPS, like your life, as we talked about, the universe all the time. Anyhow, short story, September 11th happened and the company collapsed. I joined another company. This director of engineering came, total ass. He brought his own team. Me and another girl, he completely ignored us, even though we were like the top there. Anyways, I changed company again. I went to another company. They got bought out and they said, we don't want any of your engineers. They kicked us out, all of us. I was like, fuck this. I was like, that's it. I'm not going to work for anybody anymore. I'm going to start my company. I'm going to do consulting and that's it. So I started the company from 2005 and I started helping just top companies. So it was a really great journey.
But you helped them in computer science or electrical engineering? Like when did?
No. I've never done any electrical engineering here. Zippo.
So your degree.
I became software. I became software engineer. That's it.
So even the job before 9/11, that was software as well.
From the moment I stepped into the United States, there was no electrical engineering for me anymore. I became software engineer.
So when did you teach yourself how to code if your degree wasn't in computer science?
I was very much a guru in microprocessors. That's electrical engineering, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
all the zeros and ones, the hex and assembly code and all of that. So I knew that really, really well. So that kind of shaped my brain in understanding how software works, right?
Right.
So when I came here, I started, learning like languages like C and this and this and this. I gradually started, learning everything by myself. I didn't really learn anything anywhere. I just took books and I was just practicing.
So software engineering is incredibly difficult. Like this is not an easy thing to do, much less not when no one teaches you it. So for you to actually just look at books, as a foreign citizen coming to America, having a degree that's not in this, but like having the brain framework to think like this, and then just learn it on your own, and then start your own consulting firm. I mean, it's the most entrepreneurial thing to do in such a hard skill set. You know, it's not selling ice cream. It's a difficult thing to do. So,
Definitely.
so that's software engineering, and then you end up becoming a software engineer. Now the consulting firm happens, and you end up doing some of your own startups and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about your experience working as a startup founder, and also in whatever
Definitely.
consulting jobs?
Yeah. So, anyways, so as I was saying, I was helping really top. How do you say the
Fortune
500
500, yeah.
Fortune 500 companies, right? I was in LPL Financial, Sony, everything.
Real quick,
But
how
then,
did these guys find you? These Fortune 500? How did they just like?
oh, just yeah, recruiters, just recruiters. Yeah, yeah. So they found me. So because I had like really nice background, so every time people speak with me, they look at my resume, they're like blown when they look at it. So it's just like it was easy, I would say.
Right.
Um, so in what do you say? 2012, before I had my first daughter, I was approached by a young guy just like yourself, and he had an idea, real estate application, right? So we built it together and everything. We started the startup, but it didn't work out. You know, we just really didn't really get along. We had different philosophy and everything. But anyhow, so that what got me like is,
That's what
like,
got you
oh my God,
interested in the startup world, right?
yeah, there was more than consulting. There was like the startup world and everything in the Silicon Valley. And then that's where I started learning about everything about Crunchbase, everything, you name it, valuation and everything like this. Excuse me. So, and then after that, after we split, I started my own company doing something different than what his idea was. So I kind of like, we did that, and then it kind of merged, like, how do you say, not merged, but kind of
Transformed almost.
transformed into Yupper. You remember I told you about Yupper, and that
Yes.
was like the biggest startup that I had. So initially, I was the CEO and the CTO, right? Which was hard on its own, right? Because you had to build the project, the product entirely from end to end. And not only that, but you had to go and market it. So I've done everything. I've done even like I showed you the music video that I've done for the startup competition.
That was a
I
fun
was
one.
I was like, oh, yeah, I was like everywhere, right? Going to meetups, talking to investors and everything. So that's why, like you and I, we can easily talk about this stuff because I have that background already
And
of
this is the one thing I want to interject. This is one of the reasons I loved initially when we had the idea of becoming co-founders, because your background was like, look, I've done startups before and I understand the business side of it. And so to me, I was like, okay, I'm 23 when I approached you. I'm like, obviously, I have a business degree, but that doesn't mean shit. So like someone who actually understands valuations and money and all this stuff and the tech, but if we partner together, they're not going to have to worry about the tech, but they can help me on the business side. That to me was like a no-brainer. I'm like, oh, this is like a match made in heaven, which is for someone to like mentor me on the business side, but still not have to worry about it 24/7.
actually it was a really great experience from the beginning to now. Is a really good experience. So anyhow, so as I said, so Yapper, it took 5 years, wiped me out financially, basically. I'm the guy that had two Beamers, a convertible and the 435 convertible and the 335 I parked, outside and like top of the world. But then Yapper started, and I had to get rid of all of that stuff, right? And I started trimming everything. Amit, I'm gonna tell you something that hurts, okay? I got to a point where I go to Walmart and I look at a $2 t-shirt or a $3 t-shirt.
Mm,
And I like the $3 t-shirt, and I would be like, shit, should I buy this t-shirt? I'm not kidding you. I got to that point.
no.
It completely wiped me out from two Beamers, a condo and a house, and like traveling to, I mean, I don't even remember how many times I went to Paris, right? I forgot, right? I don't have a number. I visited so many countries. I got to a point where I was on my knees completely. And that was an experience. I don't regret anything because I've learned a lot, not only the business side of things, which is helping me here in Audea, but also building a platform from end to
Yep.
end, which I haven't done before, right? Well, I've done it, but at a smaller scale, but the upper was at a bigger scale. So just to give a little quick, recap on Yapper is just basically a recommendation engine for people, everything that they love, basically. They could just put it
Movies,
out
books,
there.
restaurants,
Everything, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's the story, basically. That's how I got into startups.
Okay, so then for us, we met a bit unconventionally in November 2020. I applied on a website called starthawk.io that I've said is like Tinder for startup founders. You put in your personal matches, you put in your personal characteristics, and then the platform matches you. So you were a technical co-founder. I was a business marketing guy. It's so crazy, even me thinking about this 2 years later, how this happened. I literally applied because I couldn't sleep because I had this idea for Audea, and I was like, I need someone technical to help me build it because I can't build it. And so I just Google it. It pops up. I apply, and you're the first person that pops up, and I send you the pitch deck. Now you're getting inundated with a crap ton of pitch decks because you have all the leverage as the technical guy, right? Everyone's got an idea, but like if you can't build it, there's no way you can get it to the market. So I emailed you and I said, hey, can we have a meeting? And you know how the website, you have to pay a monthly subscription after 3 credits. So I was like, all right, I have 3 credits and then I have to pay them $50. So you were the first guy, and you responded, and then we had a meeting. And in that meeting, we had a really awesome discussion for about an hour. Can you walk me through what happened in that meeting, how you felt, and ultimately why you decided to partner?
I'm going to rewind just a little bit. 1 month before I applied on that website, Yapper collapsed completely. We decided to stop it. That's it. And it's like you don't quit when you have obstacles thrown at you from right and left.
Yep.
You quit when it stops making sense,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's the position I got in with Yapper. It stopped making sense for me to continue this venture, right? And I realized, you know what? I'm gonna take a month, just think about ideas. If I want to build something or anything or something like this, then I got the idea. I was like, how about I find somebody that actually has a great idea and I come and help them, in their venture and bring it to life, basically. So I got, as you said, I got inundated with people, and I had so many meetings, right? And everyone I talked to, they had I have like a checklist, right? And something missing, right? And then I speak with you, like within the first minute, I am not kidding. Within the first minute, I decided to join you. And I tell you, the biggest reason was the spark in your eye. The spark. I saw that spark. I saw the belief. I saw that you fucking so committed to this, like mentally. I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna work with this guy. First of all, he seems like a nice guy, I don't like, people, that are like confrontation or have too much ego or something like. You have to have a balance of everything, right? So it's like an equation of multiple variables. The whole thing has to work, right? For you to be like lined up with a person to like that person, right? So you had all the check marks. I mean, for me, it's like that's it. Within the first minute, like when you speak with someone, within the first minute, they tell you that, right? And it's true. It's actually true in your case. First minute, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna work with this guy. And yeah, I love the idea. I didn't understand it completely. It was kind of like obscure to me because I didn't really understand podcasts that much. I knew what it's an RSS feed and everything, but I just didn't grasp completely the concept, that the creators are facing, the problem that they're facing, right? But you explained to me so well, after the next meetings and everything. So I started to understand it really well, but not the first meeting. Honestly, I was like, just that's it. I'm working with this guy. That's it. This is a great idea, and he's very committed, and he has the spark. He has the energy, and he speaks flawlessly. Like he's like like it was for me like I made the decision right away.
It was such an interesting meeting to me because in that first hour, you were basically like, I'm getting the idea. It makes sense, but I like you. And what you were doing to me at that moment was like instilling a lot of confidence in me and my ability to communicate the idea. And I was like, okay, this guy's super technical. This guy barely knows me, but he understands tech. And somehow, some way, he's starting to understand my concept. First part. And then number two, he's starting to see like the potential in me. I remember you said, like, I see you as a CEO. I see you as the guy on the Forbes magazine. I see you as the guy that can take this and bring it to life. And that's how I saw myself. So I'm like, okay, I look at his resume. This guy seems like my Wozniak. I want to be the Steve Jobs. I think there's synergy here. I think there's chemistry here. I think this could potentially work. So that meeting went really well. Then we had a second meeting. We started dating for a couple of weeks, started really flirting with the idea. But in that first meeting, we secured the domain name, right? Audea.io. We bought it for $15.
It was easy.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, it was like, all right, I see this guy. He has the energy, he has the potential, he has the charisma. From my perspective, I'm like, this guy works with Fortune 500 companies. I mean, to me, I remember I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I found my guy. She's like, it's only been a couple of weeks. I was like, yeah, and that's where I'm like, the universe is kind of telling me to go do something, because to find something like this in 2 weeks is insane.
Yeah.
And then just execute on it. So the idea itself, now that you fully understand the idea and everything that's going on, what is attractive to you around why you think Audea could succeed in the next 5-6 years?
Well, I truly believe, that there is a hole in the market, basically, right? You could see everything video, everything is video oriented, right? Where you have to give your attention, look at something, and you cannot do anything else, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes, I remember when I used to sometimes commute to work, go to to a company's, grounds to, for a meeting or something like this. And I would put NPR. I would listen, right, when I'm driving, or put podcasts or something like this, right? But you could do a lot of things. You could even think about stuff while you're listening. You could actually multitask. And I feel that this is something that's truly missing, in the market. Plus, companies like Spotify and everything, they don't really give a shit about creators, right? They care only about the money.
Yeah.
They're not gonna care about making them, discoverable, giving them a fair opportunity, right? And I feel that this is what we're doing. We're giving a fair opportunity to creators, having them, as long as they do their work, of course. You cannot just put shit content and expect, people to follow you and fall in love with you, right? I see your channel. Everybody loves you. I love, looking at your stuff, right, when you speak. So, as long as people do their work, we do our job. This is what we do. They come to a platform where it's fair to be, to be discovered and to stand out, and giving an opportunity for people, basically not to just have their attention focused on just one thing, but you could do other things while they're working. So yeah, I have a really, really good feeling about Audea, right? I remember when Clubhouse came out, a couple of years ago or something. I just felt like they didn't really address a problem. It's like eavesdropping, somebody's talking, and you listen to this conversation. I just didn't feel it, right? But with Audea, I absolutely feel it. Even if I weren't part of it, I would probably on WeFunder put in 25K or
Put in some
something, or
money.
50K. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's so interesting because it's like, first of all, since we launched July 27th, I just checked our stats. We've given about 94,000 impressions to creators, which is, I think, more than some of the other audio companies. But 94,000 impressions means that 94,000 times people have seen user-generated content on their home feed, which means they have the opportunity to enter into that creator's world. And I think 2 years ago, that was my thesis. And even I didn't fully have the problem fully crafted the way I do 2 years later, but I understood, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, audio's exploding, Clubhouse is exploding, but like, there's not that true platform, and that true platform that is creating the discovery mechanism for creators in audio. And if that platform did exist, we're talking billions. Like, it's not a game here. Like, we're actually talking billions, because we know how valuable the discovery problem is, because the thesis, and this is the thing I kind of sold you on, is that the world is moving to user-generated content. We care about the real estate agent from, down the block versus the real estate agent that's on TV, right? Because we relate to other people. And so if you build the platform to get those people discovered, you win.
Yeah, I'm totally with you in this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's what makes it exciting, because it's like Clubhouse, you're going after live audio. Is that really solving this problem? You see all these other audio apps that are trying to like make podcasts. It's like, the real problem is, can you get someone's art in the world seen or listened to or heard by other people? And if you can figure out how to do that, which is a difficult thing to do, the scale of the problem is so difficult, the reward is going to be massive. And so that's the fun part of building this.
100%.
Can you describe to me a little bit about the early stages of building the platform? I kind of gave you a vision of what I want it to look like, how I want it to function, and then I just told you to go do it, right? Because I don't know how to build it, and then you just started working.
Well, I think you know this about me, and I've already told you, Amit. When somebody talks to me about something, an idea, I just see it. It's just, I don't know how. I don't understand why it happened or how it happens. But I see, for example, I look at the database in my head when you're talking to me, I can see the tables, the relationships and everything, creator, Audea, album, all of that. I can see them already, right? So for me, the way I build software is I start from the ground up, right? I start from the very, very of the bottom level, which is the database, basically, because that's the structure. If you have that built correctly, then you have no issue later. But a lot of people, here's the funny thing, a lot of people come to me, startups, right? Till now, they come to me like, oh, we made a mistake. We built our database using NoSQL, right? And we're having a real problem now, having all these interrelationships with the different documents and everything. And they say, can you convert it for us to an RDBMS, basically to a relational database? Everyone, a lot of people, they try to make things quick and dirty, and then they shoot themselves in the foot, right? And that so as I said, the very beginning was building the platform, cleanly and like as good as possible.
Right.
All the mistakes.
Internally making sure the heart of the platform made sense. Externally, the design is whatever, but like making sure it doesn't collapse,
And I'll tell you one thing, Audea really benefited from Yapper. All the mistakes that I've made on Yapper. And
Yeah.
still, Yapper was an amazing platform. I still kind of like even polished even more to build a platform that is absolutely sustainable, scalable. We're not going to have any problems that I can be sure. You can be sure of. And then after that, it's the API, of course, that goes on top of that. Those are the basic blocks. And then you can start about the front end and, the app and all of that stuff,
Right.
which is like the up, that's the layer that people see basically. What they don't see is all the inner workings of AWS, all the services that are involved, everything that's involved behind the scene, and which is humongous, right? So yeah, that's the way basically I build the software. And even now, when we have our meetings twice a week, or even more sometimes, and you tell me about something, I just see it. I just see it how it's going to be built, and I answer you within like seconds. I tell you yes, I
Yeah.
mean it's doable because I already saw it.
And that's the cool thing. Like, I'm never scared to mention a feature to you. I'm like, okay, I mean, we need to like make sure there's a way to block users. You're like, okay, that connects with that. Okay, give me a couple days. Or like, I remember in August 2021, I was like, I mean, the search engine kind of like you type in a word and nothing pops up, and we know we have ideas with these keywords. You're like, all right, give me 2 months, and then a day later, you're like, oh, I fixed it. I was like, you said you needed 2 months for this. He's like, yeah, but I just kind of figured it out. I was like, wow. Those are the moments that make me grateful, because I'm like, you got to have someone who's good enough to do that, but not just good enough technically. They have to have the motivation to want to stay up a couple hours and actually just get it done,
Of course. Yes,
Remember
absolutely.
that the app, like there was an infinite scroll and it was like buggy every time you scrolled. And I was like, oh, man, it really sucks when people scroll, and you just Googled it and you found out, oh, there's this thing, and you add, and there's, so I think that's why we make a good team as well, because we have an idea and we implement.
Absolutely, yeah. And I tell you what, I mean, the CTO, if he has to always wait for his CEO to tell him to do something, that's a failed CTO on my part. Like this CTO shouldn't even exist. This is like an employee that's getting equity or something like this. The CTO has to go on his own, do stuff, do things, and then hey, think as an owner. Don't think as an employee, right? Don't wait for somebody to tell you something. That's the secret sauce. You have to be as much in love with it as the CEO.
Yeah. And so after that, it came down to raising money, right? And so June 2021 to September 2021 was a really hard time for me, just emotionally, right? Because I was in the meetings. I got the meetings by the VCs, institutional VCs, rejected, right? So we got rejected for 3 months. So just like you with some of the problems with the upper, for me, those were big problems, and I learned a lot from it. It's like how to pitch, how to tell a story. But we went back to the drawing board. And then November, just like you find a way to figure it out on the tech, I'm like, I found a way to get people's attention on YouTube. And by January, you brought up the idea that allowed us to get funding, which I didn't think of, by the way. You said, hey, you have a stocks and finance channel. The people that are watching probably have money and they probably care about investing. And I was like, so what's your point? He was like, why don't you just mention your startup and see if anyone's interested in investing? And I was like, you think that'll work? You're like, I think it might work. And I was like, okay. And it was such a genius idea because obviously I built the YouTube channel eventually to introduce my startup. I was very clear from that from day one, but never to get people to invest. That never crossed my brain because I couldn't imagine that. And then you put that idea out there and I was like, let's try. And the first day I tried, I remember March 24th, we got our first 25,000. It was wired that day. And it was from a guy who had been watching me for a couple months because I started in November. So it was about 5 months. And he just wanted to take a chance on the idea. He had enough money where 25,000 is a couple pennies to him. And he discovered me through YouTube. So like, I think there was a nice brains of, okay, you got the creativity to get people's attention. And then you need to have the ability to figure out how to ask people, which is where you came in. And then you make the ask and then you start doing the pitches. So can you speak to a little bit over the past 6 months? We raised almost close to 300K, 275,000. How do you kind of feel about that entire process?
You know what? Here's the thing. I know you got beaten up every now and then, and we talk about it and we try to raise our morale together and everything.
It was
But you
rough
just
though.
kept
It was
going.
rough.
Yeah,
It was rough.
but you kept going, especially. I don't know if I should mention the name of the investor or not. Should I?
Go ahead. Which one was it?
Dennis.
Freaking Dennis! If you're watching this, Dennis,
Fuck us.
you messed up, baby.
We were like so in love with the guy, right? And it's not like we cheated him or something. Like we know that we're gonna make it happen. We're like fucking committed. We're like the A team, right? And we found this guy he believed in us, and then just like I don't know, he got
He
cold
said
feet, for
send the
some reason.
contract, and then a week later he pulled out after we sent it. And it is
Exactly.
what it is.
That was like a really big blow. But anyways, I mean,
But that's what started that when that happened, and we were gut wrenched, because we were so close to the money. He was going to give 250K for anyone wondering. That's the couple days after that you mentioned, hey, why don't you ask your subscribers? Like maybe they want to invest. And so far, everything we've raised has been from our subs. And that journey has been more meaningful because that created a community around that. So when we launched, we got 200 users the first, because there was a people waiting. They cared about the product,
Yeah.
So even if though you're getting 5,000-6,000 from all these different people and not from one guy, it kind of almost built a cult around the product.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I mean, here's the thing. The way you got me to believe in your vision, right? Because you are genuine. I know, in your DNA, Audea is like ingrained inside your DNA. I know that you believe in it. I have like zero doubt that this company is gonna fail. I know companies fail, right? But you and I, we're doing like everything we can to succeed, and that's the way you convinced me because you're genuine and people see the energy and they believe in you. That's the same thing, with other people that you're talking to raise money. They believe in you, and that's why they're giving you money because they trust you, because they know that you are the real deal. It's not like some kid, just got an idea, is playing with it or something. I fucking know that you're like this is your life. I know that it means so much to you, and that is why I'm with you in the trenches, like fighting day and night. Like sometimes, I wake up at 3 a.m. I go pee, and I'm like, oh, this is how I'm gonna solve this, right? I think of it. It just comes to my mind, and then I have a problem sleeping for like the next or 1 or 2 hours. I'm like in bed, like building stuff in my head. When I go in the morning, I just execute. But that comes from what? From the belief in you. That's what it is.
It's so crazy you mentioned that because a day ago I slept at 5 a.m. because I had an idea for content. It was like a specific type of content strategy, and I couldn't sleep because I was like so obsessed with it. And so I woke up at 7 a.m. and I went to the office and I told the guys, the videographers we have, and they were all into it. And I was like, okay, this might actually work because I got so obsessed with this idea. Because to me, we're only 3 days into marketing, right? But I'm like, how can we hyperscale this? How can we hyperscale this? How can we, like, we've got the money, we have the offer, like we can move fast. And so I just got an idea and I started thinking, but it all comes from the idea that there's passion. I don't think you raise, 70 grand if you're selling a crypto scam. People see through that at the end of the day. And so people trust in the person. They know it's a risk. They know things fail, things might not work, but they see the idea, they see the potential, and then the 2 + 2 moment is, okay, idea makes sense. Is this the guy that could potentially take it? And then they're willing to take the risk, whether it's 25,000 or $100. And so it's been an amazing journey, seeing that happen so far.
And you and we're taking a big risk, right? With our time, basically. I instead of spending time with my girls, I'm working, right? Or going to the beach, I'm working. And that's like it's much bigger than anybody's money. Because
Yep.
you know what? You can always get money back,
Yep.
but you cannot get time back. You can never get time back.
Okay, a couple last questions just to end it off. What is your favorite thing to do when you're not working on Audea?
So, lately I got the scooter, right? And I've been pushing it, little by little to see if I can go to the beach, right? Because the beach is like 5 miles and it's like all hills. You know how California is. It's not like Florida flat. California is like all hills and down and up. So I just put my earphones and just cruise and just go like for an hour, just looking at the ocean, just looking at it just gives me so much energy. I just recharge instantly. That is like my
Is it
favorite thing to
electric
do.
scooter or you have to push it?
Yeah, no, it's an electric scooter. Yeah, it's one of those Segway, cool little toys. So I absolutely love doing it. I like going to the beach. I like not to swimming per se, but just looking at the ocean. For whatever reason, it just recharges me instantly. If I have like a depressing day or something, I just drive through the ocean. I get out of my car. I literally sit like 1 or 2 minutes, smell the ocean, look at it, and then I just go back. That's why I'm like, I'm never gonna live in any place that is far from the ocean. It's just
And that's
yeah.
important because as a founder, the highs are high and the lows are lows. Like the lows are you're doubting everything, and then the highs you're like, why would I ever even for a second doubt I'm going to take over the world? But that's just the life of a founder. There's no in between, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done?
Oh my God. I've done so many crazy things. I would say probably when I was in the military. Um, yeah, like I got in trouble. Basically, they put me in jail, right? And so I just wanted to get out of jail for whatever fucking reason. I didn't want to be in jail. I just get out. So I stole somebody's identity, right? So I can get out. So I got out, basically. I'm telling you, I was like fucking trouble. So I got out. They found out. They brought me back to jail, and then I just couldn't stay. So people don't people break out of jail. I broke jail. I literally broke it. I found like a weak spot in one of the walls. I just like dug it, and then I just came out. And then they found out again, and they couldn't bring me back. So what they did, they told me your family is at the entrance. They're waiting for you. I'm like, you know what? Your family comes at the to the base. That's a problem. Something bad happened, right? So they found a way to bring me back. And so when I heard that and I came back, the one of the majors who was in charge of the whole base, right? He looked at me and he's like, I got you, I got you. Oh, like you son of a bitch. He really got me. So yeah, that was like one of the craziest things I've ever done. It was fun. It was fun. I really had I'm so proud of my childhood personally. I had a really nice childhood. I had a really full life. I've done so many things. I've
Yeah,
traveled to a lot of places, dated so many girls like crazy until I found my absolute amazing girl. And you know her, Elena,
I know
sometimes
her
she talks
well.
to you too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, and I have two beautiful girls. I spend a lot of time with them, like when I can, of course.
right.
I don't go and just watch TV or something. I just absolutely really spend time with them. But yeah, this is it's a great journey. I mean, I'm so glad, Amit, that I have two things going for me. Of course, I have my consulting firm. That's what I feed the family and I pay the bills and everything. But then Audea is so important to me because I know it's gonna work, and because I know we're fucking committed to it. The
Yeah.
18, yeah.
Yeah. I think we have the one few things that most startups don't have, and I've analyzed a lot of them over the time, which is um, do you have a technical person that is internally motivated to iterate and figure out how to deal with user feedback and build features and product and just ship and get stuff out immediately? Okay, we have that. And it's not going to take no for an answer. It's not going to say, oh, I can't figure it, like just going to figure it out. And then number two, do you have someone who is creative enough in marketing and they run through obstacles, but they figure out different ways to get through the obstacles. You can't raise
100%.
money this way, you go this way. You can't get users that way, you find users the other way. And are they both just obsessed with it? And if you've got them both obsessed with it and you give them a little bit of money so that they actually have some room to work, can they take it to the next level? And that's all that is, especially in the pre-seed stage, which for the work we've done, I think we are far beyond pre-seed. But in terms of financing pre-seed, it's, is the market opportunity big and do you trust the people? And I think we've got both of that plus a product that people are now using. And so I think there's a really big shot that we can do this. And it's just been an amazing journey, doing this with
100%,
you.
100%, 100%.
No,
And
this is good. I'm happy
yeah,
people are beginning to see you. First of all, if you have any questions for Amin or anything about just how he's felt building this startup, anything, leave it below. He has his own YouTube channel. He'll respond in the comments below. So let me know if anything. His resume is also linked down below. So for anyone who wants to see this like 17-page novel of the shit that he's done, then you can also see that as well. And yeah, I hope you guys continue to join us on the journey of building Audea. We'll probably do more of these in the future as we reach different milestones, and we'll talk about how we're feeling. And this is the co-founder of Audea. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next one.